to mark the event today. To mark the event today, we shall be having the Jumat service as celebrated in the Muslim community. On Sunday, there will be Thanksgiving service at St. Cyprian's Church. And then on Monday, there will be laying of wreath and other activities climaxing the event. In all of these, what is the significance of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day? What role did the Army play to keep the Nigerian state the way it is today? Do you think the political situation today is better than the way the Army kept it? These and many more shall be looked at on today's program. Once again, you're welcome to News Tips, coming to you live from the studios of River State Television here in Port Harcourt. I have a guest in the studio. He is the former chairman of Nigerian Legion River State chapter. I'm talking about ACG Justice CHICHI Esquire. Of course, he is a legal practitioner. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
You are colorfully adorned in your attire.
Thank you very much.
It's okay. Just like we said, we'll just go straight to the business. But before then, remember this program is an interactive one. Call us on 0902 339 362 to share your thoughts on today's program. Like I said earlier, every year, 15th of January, is set aside to celebrate armed forces, to celebrate the armed forces, you know, and people are asking, what is the significance of this day? What is the significance of the event?
It's okay. First of all, let me thank you for this privilege of coming here to throw more light to the doubts of people, the general public, about the significance of this season. I call it a season because it spans through 3 months or thereabout.
Yes.
First of all, if you have a child and your child goes out to fight a war and wins a war, when he comes back, you will celebrate him. We can just borrow a leaf from the prodigal son. When he returned, his father celebrated him. However, let me start by thanking the federal government for setting aside a period like this to celebrate us who choose to mortgage our lives and then serve this nation, paying the prices that is better imagined. The significance includes, but not limited to, 1, appreciating, showing recognition, gratitude to those of us who choose to serve this country without limitation, selflessly. I will just take you briefly to the Bible. Not every person is a soldier. Soldiers are born. They are not harvested here and there. And so if a soldier is born in your family and he goes out to protect you, defend you, do all manners of things to ensure that you have peace and freedom, they deserve some level of respect and gratitude. So this period is set aside by the government. I can't thank the government of the Federal Republic enough for choosing to give us this kind of recognition. I can't thank them enough. So this season is set aside to celebrate us. Why? You can imagine this country without soldiers. You can imagine a country without soldiers. You can go on and go on. A country is valued based on the strength and capacity of their soldiers to protect the sovereignty and at the same time the internal security. Imagine without soldiers what is happening in the northeast. Imagine without soldiers what happened before within the Niger Delta. And then without soldiers, you can imagine what would have become of this country during the Nigerian Civil War. And so the significance is to appreciate us and at the same time share views with us. What are our challenges after retirement? What do we expect that should be done to ameliorate our challenges? I am here, I served, and I've retired. The stories about service is better told by who or any person who went through the processes. And so I think this period set aside as Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration season is very, very significant and fundamental for encouraging the young ones and those who are serving right now to continue to put in their best. Let me proceed by thanking His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara. He is one governor who understands better the issues that the ex-servicemen are going through. No wonder he came up as soon as he took over government and then started giving us listening ears. As we speak, he launched our emblem with 30 million, released the money immediately to ensure that at least, let us have it like a way of palliative, so that our members can have small things in their pocket. He didn't end there. There were some promises that we are behind, particularly the grant that government gave to us before he took over. He released the money to ensure that those issues that are challenging us, particularly our students that are in the university. One of the finest things is the scholarship scheme that is being sponsored by the government in Rivers State. You can imagine a child grown up and is not in school. How do you feel?
Just strictly for members of the Nigerian Legion?
Yes, okay. Because these are the persons who pay the price now. I'm sure you understand that. So the scholarship, this Rivers State government has its own scholarship, yes, which is managed by the ministry. But the Nigerian Legion, Rivers State chapter, we have this scholarship scheme, which is strictly for the children of our fallen heroes. You know that serving in the public sector, not much money is available because it's a voluntary work. And so, and you can also imagine that if you're a stranger in your own place, when you come back and you don't even have anything you call your own, you need to be supported. Let me use myself for example. I never served in Rivers State all through the period of my career in the service. Wow. And so my wife is also a stranger in my own community. Even me, I'm a stranger. I don't even know where my father's assets are lying. Now, coming as a stranger like that, I needed to start all over. And it is this grants and support that gives us the understanding that, yes, we have people. For instance, if a child of a retired soldier who is living on pension, first of all, pension is just percentage of what you were earning before. If what you were earning before was not sufficient, how can the pension deal with it? And so the grants and support that we get from people help us to live normal life. And so when His Excellency the Governor, Simfubara, came over and dealt with the debts that were on ground, I think that was one of the things we celebrated so much, that yes, we have a government that has attention for us. So our children needed to return to school. And so he released those grants, and I think we are returning them to school. But that is not enough.
That is not enough.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You are the former. You just said now that you just step aside as the chairman of Nigerian Legion Rivers State branch. Before we go into your success story and the challenges you encountered during the period, you know, let us take a look at the historical perspective of the Nigerian Armed Forces. How come about the 15th January has been celebrated in the country for the Nigerian Armed Forces?
It's okay. Incidentally, I'm a lawyer, so I'm going to bring some understanding.
Go ahead.
You are aware that our laws in this country, some percentage were imported from our colonial masters. Yeah, now, after the First and Second World War, the Crown realized that some of the participants, soldiers who fought in the wars, some of them were injured, they needed to be supported, some died leaving behind their families, and very many other things associated with such a fight. And then the Crown felt that no, it is important that we should take care of these people. If
when you say crown, what do you mean by crown?
The crown is the British, the queen, call it the queen, okay. Now is the king. The king now. So the popular parlance, we call it the crown. That is so the crown came up and said, no, we needed to take care of the dependents of our fallen heroes who fought in the war. What is the meaning of the war itself? Those who went to fight the war are actually serving the country selflessly. And so they went there to protect their sovereignty and all that. So it became a challenge when the Crown realized that these persons will turn to become nuisance in the society. And then it will even run down the image of the government if those who sacrificed to defend you are not given attention. What makes you think that other persons will want to key in and continue sustenance of that service? And so it became necessary that there should be a day to celebrate them. So in the Commonwealth countries, these things were sold to us. Nigeria is one of them, and then we borrowed a leaf how to take care of those who fought in the First and Second World War, and trickles down the line. Other wars have been fought in Nigeria. Here we had the Nigerian Civil War, which very many persons died. Now some of the soldiers were injured and they can't help themselves. So you needed to celebrate them. You needed to tell them thank you. You needed to give them recognition. To me, I call it like a birthday to make us remember the experiences and all that. You know, so the significance is, or how it started, is that it became realistic that those who fought in the war should be given attention, particularly when they are still alive, and they need to be assisted. And so all we talk about, all the things that give meaning to the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, is just to celebrate and appreciate those who paid the price for the purposes of keeping this country united and one.
For the purposes of keeping the country united. I also know that during the Civil War that ended in January 1970 or thereabout, there was an agreement, on how these soldiers, could be incorporated into the system, and to also see that the Biafran side and the Nigerian side, become one through reintegration. And I also know that there are some policies, brought about by the government of Gowanas at that time. Would you still share some thoughts about that?
I think those things have been put behind. So let's talk about the current.
Okay.
Let's talk about the current.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Like I said, you were the chairman of Nigerian Legion, River State branch.
Yes.
And I know how you've been here, to talk about the Nigerian Legion. And before we talk about the experiences of your members at the national level, let's take a look at the challenges and the success story of your administration. And then when did you now hand over?
It's okay. Thank you very much. I won't be economical with words at this time. First of all, I took over as sole administrator when there were some issues to be dealt with within the leadership strata of the state chapter. And then the Honorable Minister of Defense considered somebody that can be trusted and trusted with that office to, first of all, deal with the issues on ground and then set the stage for continuity. And so I was appointed, not because I'm the best person, but I think that is how God
I also know if you can share what led to your emergency, those issues, if you would want to.
Well, what led to my own appointment first was that the then executive, their tenure expired, and then they didn't want to conduct elections and hand over. Maybe they were having some good time in office and they didn't want to part with it. And so as a lawyer, I was consulted by some of our members to please look into this thing. A few of us are actually lawyers, and of course, the Nigerian Legion being an institution established by Act, whoever is going to deal with it must have good knowledge or background of what led to the establishment and how the establishment is expected to operate. And so when I went into the matter, I approached the leadership both in Port Harcourt and Abuja. I'm talking about the leadership of the armed forces. Of course, this Nigerian Legion is a baby to the armed forces. And so I went into the matter, followed up to the office of the Honorable Minister of Defense. I said, look, Rivers State is in shambles. We needed change of administration. The period or the tenure of the sitting executive at that time has expired. So no, don't worry. Let's not talk about names. And so after the petition I wrote was being heard, and the government realized that allowing the then executive to continue and giving 90 days that the electoral law provides for this country, 90 days will be too much to be given to those people who have chosen to take it the other way. And so I was appointed as sole administrator, specifically charged to, first of all, balance the equations, and at the same time ensure that the elections are conducted. Of course, it was a simple thing because I was prepared for the job. Okay. So when I was appointed, I came here, the government of Rivers State accepted me and celebrated me, congratulated me, and then I took over, ensured that the necessary things were put in place, constituted the necessary committees and all that. So at the end of the 6 months that was given to me to administer in the interim capacity as sole administrator, at the end of it, these my colleagues didn't quite like it, so they went to court against me. And then at some point I have to resign and left, and then the honorable minister appointed an acting chairman in to represent him. That's what the law provides. Okay. One Dr. Alozie, he was director admin in the Ministry of Defense, and he came over to Port Harcourt and ensured that not only that elections should be conducted as prescribed, but those of us who are warring against each other should be at peace. And so elections were conducted at that time, and I presented myself to the people. You can be sure, with the 6 months I was a sole administrator, I was able to show to the people, prove to them that I have understanding about what the challenges are and how to deal with it. So I was elected. So with that, my election, I became substantive in 2019. Okay. And so I moved on from there. Had several relationship, interface with government, and then the former governor, as a lawyer, I was able to assist him, and then he gave us attention. Okay. That gave birth to the scholarship scheme that we are celebrating today, that is taking care of our children. Okay. At that particular time, we never had a structure we call our own state office. We were in a rented apartment in D-Line. Some of you are aware. Yes, I think the office have been there for years, and then not good enough. I interacted with people, solicited for support, and then today we have an office we call our own at Woji. It's a structure that you can be proud of, that it is good to represent the state office for a Rivers structure. Yes, I did that with the support and understanding of my council members, arising from the donations and the provisions that we got from the Rivers State government principally, and some other well-meaning Nigerians, and we have an office there. The government didn't just leave us alone. The government gave us a coastal bus to enable us deal with our routine movements. A brand new coastal bus is there. Not only that, created platforms that will enable us deal with certain other challenging issues. For instance, our widows government came out and donated money directly to the widows so that nobody tampers with it. Of course, you know that those who really feel the pains are the widows. Not only were grants given directly to them, small scale industries were established for them, and they kicked off. In fact, it is under my tenure that widows of the Nigerian military had the privilege of buying correct wrappers. And then I'm happy as a person that I'm fulfilled that within that period I served as chairman for 4 years, significant things are put in place that is helping us to move on right now. And so, not clapping hand for myself, I think I contributed my quota to the development. Today, we have 50 students of our fallen heroes in the university on the scholarship scheme the Nigerian Legion is paying. Before I became chairman, there was nothing like scholarship. I went to school. That's why I can be proud and stand boldly anywhere. And so if my child does not go to school, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. Now, I had colleagues in the service. I watched them die. Some of them at the battlefield, I watched them die. And then their children know me. If my own children are going to school and their own children are lying around, it doesn't make sense. And so God introduced to me, I talked to people, and then government support came in and we established the scholarship scheme. We started with 55 students at the initial time in 2018. Okay. Having graduated some of those, we floated the recent one last year and we took 50. I know my successor will deal with it. He's a gentleman that I can trust. So the people have elected him. He has taken over. I handed over last year. My tenure expired last year, May. And so he has taken over, and I know he's dealing with those issues. Very soon, he will call us to come and celebrate the new scholarship award. I'm confident.
You are confident. A very remarkable achievement, talking about moving from a rented apartment to a permanent structure. I mean, that is very, very significant. And then talking about the coastal bus, I mean, Nigerian Legion has been there for years. You know, who would have thought that one day the Nigerian Legion will move to its permanent site, you know. And then talking about the scholarship, which is also very significant to ensure that children of our fallen heroes, you know, are back to school. That's a great improvement. But you've not told us about your challenges, because in all of this, there is no way you tell us that, you know, there were no challenge.
Well, certainly, even if I've said everything in a few minutes, the challenges were enormous. Let me, at this point in time, thank again His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Sim Fubara, because when you talk of challenges, the foundation of challenge in anywhere is resources.
Yes.
This brief period he took over, he has almost made all of us to forget that we ever had challenges by the attention he is already giving to us. Let me thank the Secretary to the State Government, Dr. Tami Danagogo. I was not surprised the way he was treating me. Some persons were so jealous and said, oh, because I am a lawyer and he is a lawyer, he took special interest in all the presentations I was bringing up. Up to today, the Secretary to the State Government is down to earth. He understands. In fact, when I went into looking at his CV, they say he has been a local government chairman before, and so he got the information from the foundation. Because if you want to touch the life of people, go to the grassroots. Yes. Now, everything that I presented, some that were wrongly presented, he corrected them. And so, number one, the first challenge we had was correct recognition. Okay. And you know, the business of government starts from the ministries. He was there. He helped to raise our issues up in their meetings and all that. And we got recognized. Correct recognition, not just seeing us as existing. And then the issues of financing or funding was fundamental. How? Why? The pension we draw, like I mentioned before, pension is just to keep you alive. But you can be sure, because of the stress and fatigue we went through in the armed forces, one of the greatest challenges is medical. He was there. He ensured that attentions were given to us, even if we are on free medical by the provision of the National Health Insurance policy. There are limitations to what you can get. And then when anything is free, you have challenges along the line. The SSG added his voice to ensure that proper attentions were given to us as far as medical is concerned. How? They provided some incentives which has to do with money that should the provision of NHIS not deal sufficiently with the medical requirements, take out of this one and augment. Now, besides that, when he saw the office where we are, he added his voice to ensure that we got an office through financial support coming from the government. Now, this scholarship scheme, he supported it from day one. He realizes that, yes, I make a difference because of my schooling. And so if tomorrow we are not sufficient in our minds and our children are made to join these other gangs that are heating up the environment, it will not be good. And so he ensured that government, through his own office, did the necessary support, and then the scholarship scheme came to be. And so funding, which forms the major challenge, was given to us through this window. And so challenges, fine. If the money you have is not sufficient, can you think of development?
Of course.
And so we needed to deny ourselves certain things to ensure that we move forward by the acquisition of that office. I won't forget in a hurry that some of my colleagues didn't want us to invest in that structure so that we can have enough to eat and live.
Yeah.
But then somehow we were able to get there. And so major challenge number one is funding. The second one is that, see, not just saying funding. I mentioned before that I came back to my community, to my family as a stranger, and I didn't even know where to start from. Reintegrating into your own family needs some persons to tell you how to approach it. So talking and giving you information on how to approach issues is so fundamental.
Yeah.
So we are taking to some seminars, discussions, and all that. Despite that we are demilitarized at the first instance, but we still needed a follow-up. You know, the second missionary journey in the Bible is to strengthen the converse you had at the first time. So the first training was not enough, or is never enough, so the government supported us to move on. And then I can go on and go on and go on. The Rivers State government is such a government that is sensitive to the plight of our soldiers. Of course, you know our environment is crazy because of the interests of the economic interest. So we needed people who have good understanding so that sabotage will be at the lowest limit. And so far so good. We are stable now, and the government is giving us attention. The new chairman is doing well.
The new chairman is doing well. You're still watching News 6 coming to you live from the studios of Rivers State Television here in Port Harcourt. And here with us is ACG Justice CHICHI Esquire, former chairman, Nigerian Legion, Rivers State branch. Moving on now, you have talked so much about the success story and the challenges, and I know that you're talking about the Nigerian Legion in Rivers State. Can we look at it from the Nigerian perspective? I know that during your time when you were in office, you were going for meetings where your counterparts from other states, you met with them, you know. How do you relate your activities here and what happens in other states?
It's okay. I always say that Rivers State is ahead. Number one, I talked about the coastal bus that the government of Rivers State gave to us. When we go for meetings and Rivers contingent will drive and enter the environment where we are going for them, people are jealous. When they hear about
other states
are jealous. When they hear about the scholarship scheme, oh, government donated XYZ to us, and then the children are packaged and they're in the universities, people are just wondering. And so if you ask me, some say, oh, our state is very rich and our leadership is so well informed about our challenges. No wonder the brigade was here before, and now we have moved to a division. That is at the discretionary level. In my own opinion, the federal government is not giving us sufficient attention. I must say this, I'm very confident about what I'm saying. Apart from the pension that we draw, through the period I was chairman of Rivers State Legion, I never received any subvention or a grant from the Rivers State, from the federal government to support the state chapter of the Nigerian Legion. And so I think that that is not good enough. If you listen to the challenges the national body is going through, it's pitiable. There is no structural arrangement for the Nigerian Legion to access any funding. I concluded by trying to sponsor a bill at the National Assembly that there should be a legislation that provides for the Nigerian Legion, considering that you use your useful age to serve the country and you retire at old age. Our pension should be jacked up from that, from the provisions arising from that legislation, so that we can continue to survive. Now, if you have a child in the university today, no, university is too high, the secondary school today, the pension you earn is just saliva counted. And then the cost of living has gone up to the point where you and I know How can you survive on the 45,000 naira pension? But if there is a legislation that says at the end of every month, so volume should be released to the Nigerian Legion as a grant to sustain the operations. Don't even give us the money as individuals. Put the money into the administrative fund and let them use it to help our families. I think that would be a fantastic idea. And so I want to challenge the system that if you so recognize us and you could devote 3 months to celebrate us for the services we render to this country, put some money into the system for us so that not only what the Rivers State government is doing to support our scholarship, federal government should donate too into that fund so that it will not end with just paying school fees for our children. We should eat well too and deal with the medicals. Let me give you an idea. The NHIS that we have has limitation. There are certain ailments you develop and it's not provided under the NHIS. The subvention coming, we deal with those ones. You know, so I think that these discretionary provisions from the governors to the various chapters should be sustained. However, we should be giving monthly grant to support this. Correct.
From the federal. Okay. Looking at the challenges, you know, at the national level, would you say is it because of leadership failure? I know where I'm going to.
Since I don't know where you're going to, I won't call it leadership failure. I will look at it from the legal point.
Okay.
First, if there is no legal document in place that says give the Nigerian Legion National so amount of money for the purposes of administering the Legion generally, and no provision is given to it, you don't just condemn them. There must be something on the table for you to tie your evaluation to. But there is nothing like that. In fact, the National is also struggling like we are struggling in the states. So my own opinion that one thing that can deal with these challenges is a legislation. The National Assembly should amend the Nigerian Legion law, put a provision there for funding, and so that we can still continue to breathe good air. So if there is money dropping on the table of the National, we expect that it should come to the states. So if there is nothing like that, you can't begin to judge them based on nothing. You can't put something on nothing.
Okay, you can't put something on nothing. You are saying there should be a legal framework. I know that during your period, during your time as the chairman of Nigerian Legion, what you got was not actually a product of a legislative framework, but a product of probably your leadership acumen and your ability to navigate, you know, with the government. Am I correct?
And no, I'll say no. I think God should be reverenced at this point. Okay. You know, who am I? But the magnanimity of the Rivers State government is counting. Granted that yes, assessment is another thing, but I think I want to say God was just on our side. The chairman in other states,
God will always use the men on ground.
Correct. And so I want to say government was just there for us. And the people, yes, you talk of assessment and contact. I agree with you. And that's why I continue to say Rivers State government, thank you. The governor, thank you. And then the SSG, thank you.
Everybody, thank you. That's why my question now is, now that you are no longer the chairman, any plan to go to national, you know, so that you can also replicate what you did at the state level?
I think this is one of the questions I've been looking forward to, because our leaders needed to understand this bit. The national, yes, is supposed to be encompassing. First of all, no person from the South has ever become national chairman. National chairman is by appointment. And so, and that appointment is based on the recommendation of the Minister of Defense. If the Minister of Defense is in APC, is coming from the APC, and then Rivers State is PDP, of course you know that it will be one of the difficult things to achieve. But if it is based on federal character...
But we have a minister that is PDP.
I'm talking about Minister of Defense. Minister of Defense superintends over the affairs of the Nigerian Legion.
Okay.
And then when they are making their proposals, if the minister is not from the South, of course, you know that because it has to do with bread and butter, you will be least considered. Or except the minister is your classmate, and then you're able to talk to your classmate. Say, please consider my friend, or otherwise. One reason why we have never been at the national level is because of politics. Okay. Now, and today, I stand to challenge the federal government to consider the federal character content of our constitution. Yes. And then begin to say at some point, now, having had the national chairman coming from the north for over 4 tenures, can we consider the South-South? And I'm not just saying this. I want part of our leaders who are hearing me now to have a voice in this and concern in this direction. And so the national, we have never had a national chairman, we have never had a national deputy chairman, we have never had a national secretary. So we are just following. I think that at this point in time, I played with the leaders of Rivers State to show interest. In it, before now, we never had officers serving in the National Assembly as what do you call it, the executive members of the national or principal officers. Today we have a minority leader, isn't it? Yes. And the House of Representatives. Yes. It took the courage of Rivers State government to get involved, despite that the man there, I think Okechinda also, yeah. He is a powerful guy. Now, Rivers State government should also show interest that this is a national thing. After all, we are contributing to the funding or resources of this country. The national chairman of the Nigerian Legion should come from this side too and follow up. And then, of course, you can also go to the Senate and say, look, where is the chairman on the Senate Committee on Defense? And that one can add his voice and say, look, this is this, this is this. And then we can key into the national. So, at the national level, of course, a minority voice. And so, I pray that the federal character content of our Constitution will be brought to bear in consideration for the appointment of the national executive.
Okay. On the occasion of Armed Forces Remembrance Day, what is your message?
Well, I will be economical at this point in time. I will always encourage my colleagues to exhibit characters and conducts that will encourage the Rivers State government to continue to support what they have started. I'm talking about the scholarship. I'm talking about the funding and support and every other thing that they are doing. I also want to thank the Rivers State government for the considerations. In fact, let me also thank the governor again. I hear he has approved the employment of some children of our fallen heroes into the civil service of Rivers State.
I was about to go into that side.
So I want to thank His Excellency the Governor. I also want to pray that not only it shouldn't end with the children, it should consider the widows too. You know, widows feed
for employment.
For employment.
Okay.
It may be at any level, maybe the Rivers State Environmental Sanitation or Rivers State Waste Management Agency that can absorb some of these our elderly people should be given windows and opportunities there. And so far so good. I pray that God should continue to sustain us all.
So some of your members are also engaged with the Rivers State government. Am I correct?
Yes, at the State Secretary, they are providing security at the State Secretaries. Okay. I thank the governor for sustaining their services there.
Okay, okay, okay. So, as we wrap up this program, your last take.
I want to thank God that I successfully served and handed over. I also want to thank God that sufficient...
Going by how you came on board.
Yes. I want to thank His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State. He was interested in how we conducted our last election. He ensured that it was free and fair. And the chairman who emerged and other members are celebrating the conduct. I want to thank His Excellency the Governor again for sponsoring the ongoing activities marking the Armed Forces Remembrance Day and enjoying well-meaning Nigerians and citizens not to allow the Rivers State government alone to impact on the Legion. They should show interest. After all, if you go to the street, you see all the big boys carrying military escort and police escort. It shouldn't end with the military escort and police. They should show interest in the welfare of the people. After all, if an accident happens, the end point will be the Nigerian Legion for the dependents. And so
you're talking about the multinationals, the world society.
Correct. Including individuals, powerful guys in this country have so much money, and they are relying on the security provided from the armed forces and the police. So, and of course, I said it, if an accident happens in course of service provision, it ends, the dependents end with the Nigerian Legion. So they shouldn't wait till that time. They should start showing interest from this moment. And of course, this country can be a very fine place. Soldiers will be encouraged to do more than they are doing. And then, of course, we can sleep with our 2 eyes closed. Thank you very much.
Finally, you've not told us what next.
For myself?
Yes.
Well, as an individual, I haven't stepped out of the office. If you're talking about me, yes. I'm a lawyer. I've returned back to my chambers, and I'm in the court quarreling and earning my living. And so that's where I am now.
You quarrel to earn your living.
That is it, you know. And so, but if I find opportunities and placement, I have the capacity and understanding to deliver credible services to my people. And I'm willing and ready, available, if you put a call across to me, and I understand that that is sufficient services to humanity, I'll be there.
Thank you very much, ACG Justice Chichi Esquire, the immediate past chairman of Nigerian Legion, Rivers State Branch. Thank you very much for being part of our program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. That's the size of the package. Join us same time next week for another edition of the program. Until then, on behalf of the head of station, Fingers Onisa, and the head of news, Pat Jukes Mefo, my name remains Oboka Umida. Good morning.